cohort of around 80 odd people, half of whom decided that they're gonna they're gonna come down to Goa, right? And of course, like with any other Goa trip, plans. I mean, 100 people make plans, and very few end up executing and like actually pulling it off. Very surprisingly, all of the people who had sort of like and put their hands up saying that we will come to Goa, everyone ended up coming. 40 people, almost half of the batch, who at one point of time were just like faces on your Zoom screen, landed down, saw each other in person for the first time over a weekend, right? And when I sort of dropped in, it was a very weird feeling. It was like, wow, like what have we sort of like given birth to? What have we even like created?
Hey folks, welcome to First Check Portfolio Shorts. My name is Noah Martins, and this is a series where we speak to founders of our portfolio companies so that you get to know their team, understand what they're building, and the problem they are trying to solve. If you like the content we've been putting out, do like, share, and subscribe so that we can reach more founders and startup enthusiasts like you. Today's very special guest is Raj Kunkolyankar, co-founder of Stoa School. Stoa School is India's first MBA Bootcamp for working professionals. They help ambitious talent in the country break into generalist roles at fast-growing companies. Unlike most universities and educational institutions, especially in India, where students learn passively, Stoa has an engaged student body and vibrant community of educators and guest lecturers. Moreover, its curriculum is focused on a very specific objective: upskilling its students in practical business fundamentals that help them achieve their career goals. I had an awesome conversation with Raj about how the team at Stoa built such a strong community and brand in a relatively short period of time, and it is really inspiring to see this team pioneering in this space. Stick around till the end of the episode to learn more about Stoa School. Raj, thank you so much for joining me. It is a pleasure to host you.
Thanks, Noah. Good to be talking to you again, especially given that we know each other in more than one capacity, right?
Right. Yeah, awesome. Over the last year or so, you've created a brand, right? It's something that so many people in the ecosystem recognize now, and some people from outside of the startup world also. So before we get into how you did that, let's start by talking about the problem that you're trying to solve at Stoa School.
So Noah, if you see, there are almost thousands of startup which have mushroomed in the Indian ecosystem. Thousands of funded startups, in fact, which have mushroomed overnight, right? Uh, and while there are a bunch of coding schools catering to the lack of developers, lack of solid developers uh, for these startups, we noticed that there was also crunch on the talent side when it came to the business side of things, right? Be it in marketing, operations, product, right, sales, or just generalists who can hold things together, right? As founders, this was a problem that we faced while recruiting, and oftentimes we would default to going out trying to hire people who have business degrees and so on, only to realize that these people were not that many in number, right? People who had business context and knowledge across the board were not that high in number, that even if you found someone, they were not ready to hit the ground running at startups, right? And thirdly, so like since the scarcity was a problem, salaries just going high, right? Like that was a problem we noticed as founders who were trying to recruit. From the market perspective, from the perspective of a learner or talent, right, in general, um, if you want to get a 360-degree perspective on business today, there are only two routes, right? You either go do a MBA from a top tier college, get a business degree from a top tier college, or you work for 10 years, right, at a company and learn all of these things, piecing them together, referring to things online and whatnot. There was no quick, sustainable, I would say that there was no quick way in which talent could upskill themselves. uh, when it came to the world of business of fast moving companies built for the internet age.
Damn, that's super interesting. So let's get a little deeper into that. Let's talk about the actual solution. What is Stoa School? What does the course look like? Who instructs? What are cohort sizes? What does it look like right now?
So, Stoa School, as I said, is an online business school. Though we do not offer any degrees or diplomas as of yet, it's, as one would call it, a certificate program, or just an experiential program that people go through in order to get a better understanding of themselves, of the world around them, and of course how business works at startups, right? So we train people in all verticals of businesses. This would include marketing, sales, operations, finance, strategy, right? Like leadership, manage people management. We do it all, right? We Because we seek to produce full stack business folks, right? Like the way you have full stack developers who know stuff across the coding stack, we seek to produce learners who know like everything when it comes to the business side of things, right? It's a part-time program because it's a program that is designed keeping working professionals in mind, although we do serve freshers, and we help these people make that transition as of now from a non tech. And when I mean tech, like tech in terms of startups, right? From a non-startup role, these people could be in agencies, they could be working at local startups, they could be working at MNCs or IT companies. We sort of become the bridge for them to break into business roles at funded startups, right? So it's a weekend program. We have folks from the startup ecosystem, top operators, right, from unicorn startups, who come in and take people through what they do at work, and through that break down fundamentals of business, right? All the theoretical gyan, and throw tasks at people, put them under rigorous case studies, and get them ready to take on the rather unsurmountable challenges of uh, startup land.
Right. That's awesome. Right. And I myself can attest to how good I think the program is because I am part of the third cohort. So yeah, it's I've told this to you in a personal capacity as well. I just think that what you all have built from a program point of view is extremely cool, and I don't know if there's anything else that exists like it. So let's talk about the progress so far. How many cohorts have you had? How many students have gone through this program so far, and how many do you have on your waiting list?
So Stoa is 1 year and a few months old at this point of time. We've had 4 intakes, 4 cohorts, right? Because we were doing quarterly admissions. As of now, I think a total student body of around 300 and some more at this point. We're currently doing our admissions for the fifth cohort, which is probably going to be 120 people strong. And from the next year on, we would be looking at taking in a batch every single month, right? Right now, we're taking a batch every 3 months. We would want to go to a position wherein we take in people every month and have a continuous pipeline of talent for startups. When it comes to applications, I think we've had more than I think numbers are in a few thousands at this point of time. People have a few thousand people have applied to get into Stoa at this point of time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so let's talk now about how you and your co-founders met. You have three other co-founders. So how did you all meet? And also talk to me about, I'm sure as y'all are growing, y'all are also going to be hiring and your team is growing. So talk to me about why people should want to join your team and help you build Stoa School.
This one's super interesting, especially because of the talk around online communities and how we ourselves talk about how we help people meet each other and build, businesses on the internet, right? I met my co-founder Aditya, in this case, one of the co-founders, Aditya, online, right? I think met him in person over the last year, only thrice or so. And our first meeting definitely happened online, although we come from the same college and all of that. And it happened most importantly in an online learning community which is based out of SF, right? It was a community for edtech founders. That sort of gave us confidence that a lot of us are living on the internet, a lot of us are meeting people on the internet, working, earning our paychecks on the internet, and of course thriving on the internet. So online is how we met. The other co-founders, I think Sharmad, I know Sharmad from my time in school. It's almost been a decade since I know him. We've built a business together before. Manoj, who is also one of our other co-founders, was Aditya's batchmate from Bits back in the day. So yeah, there's some physical sort of relationship there, but yeah, I think the team sort of came together and worked together online because, well, it's a pandemic baby at the end of the day. When it comes to working at Stoa, since we are into, I mean, helping other people learn things, I think we prioritize learning things ourselves unless and until we can have a learning culture inside the company wherein we push each other to constantly pick up things and explore things. We cannot, of course, expect our students to be doing the same, right? So we have a solid learning culture going on, giving young folks the opportunity to sort of demonstrate what they've got, right? We have a bunch of interns, in fact, who are still going through college, but yet handling very critical functions, right, in our marketing funnel, on the operations side, on the community side, for us. So we love giving people ownership and responsibility, supporting them in delivering results and growing themselves in that process. So I think taking bets on people is a fundamental part of what we do, not only as an employer, but of course as a learning community, as an institution.
I love that. I love that learning is so fundamental to your hiring process also, and like what you look for in the people that you'll hire.
Yeah,
Pretty
I
cool.
think I think we make sure that we co-work even before we end up getting someone on the team, so that you know
Okay.
so that we get a good feel of what the person can actually bring
Right.
to work. And the other thing is that I think we believe more in the notion that we are a sports team, right? And believe in playing people at different positions, right? Like, and
Mm.
that changes constantly based on how people are evolving, how the situation is evolving. And I think most people are comfortable with stepping it up, or just stepping aside, letting someone else sort of take it up. That's, I think, again, an integral part of moving fast.
Right. Right. Raj, I'm gonna let you go with one last question, but
Mm-hmm.
this one is my genuinely my favorite one to ask founders. So, if you watch the show Silicon Valley, there are these moments in every season, these highlight reel moments where the guys have to stop and be like, "Damn, we're actually building something cool here." You know, something happens that makes them need to pause and like take everything in. So, do you think that I'm sure you have, but could you tell me a story perhaps of such a moment that you felt in your journey building Stoa School?
This was a few weeks ago. Part of our cohort three, the cohort that you are a part of, right? And you know this very well. But I'll give you my side of the story, right? Cohort of around 80 odd people, half of whom decided that they're gonna they're gonna come down to Goa, right? And of course, like with any other Goa trip, plans. I mean, 100 people make plans, and very few end up executing and like actually pulling it off. Very surprisingly, all of the people who had sort of like put their hands up saying that we will come to Goa, everyone ended up coming. 40 people, almost half of the batch, who at one point of time were just like faces on your Zoom screen, landed down, saw each other in person for the first time over a weekend, right? And when I sort of dropped in, it was a very weird feeling. It was like, wow, like what have we sort of like given birth to? What have we even like created? And especially when we heard that someone had flown in from outside the country. There were people who had a baby 3 weeks ago and yet had come down. Someone had skipped their friend's wedding to come for this meetup. Someone would drove all the way down from Manali with their dog just to be here. I think that was like super super. It was bonkers. Walking into that party, 40 people, and I was not let go of without getting a Stoa logo tattoo on my, on my back, right? So
Right.
that I think sort of cemented this whole charade about like people going from being URL friends to being IRL friends that we keep on talking about, right?
I
This was
like
it.
that.
This was when you realize that even though, like, if something may happen to the brand, or you may shut down for whatsoever reason, the relationships that you've created will probably stay, long beyond even you and your company or your institution or whatever. I think that is like super cool. Like that is when we realize that, man, we're up to something, right?
Right. URL to IRL. I love that. Raj, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. It's always a fun conversation with you. And I genuinely think it's so cool to see you building this and building it in public also. Like you're so open about, your whole team is so open about what you all are doing on your Twitter. And more than just the brand and the education, I think the community that you have created, the amount that these guys interact, whether it's Discord or now in person, I think is so cool. And kudos to you, man, for being able to build that in just a year. And I genuinely can't wait to see where this goes.
Thanks, sir. See you around.
Awesome.